Hi, I'm Shelley from Designz, and I'm here to show you my favorite Pepetools tool, their disc cutter. So this disc cutter makes 14 different size holes, and it's a redesign from their original disc cutter that was a rectangle shape, and now it's a big circle shape. But what they kept the same is the fact that the disc cutter actually opens and closes with a screw. And what is so important about this is that it allows the two pieces of the top and the bottom to stay together so that you get a perfect cut every time. So I'm going to do a quick demo on this tool for you, just using some 24 gauge copper. Now I apply my metal into between the two plates and I drop the screw just by twisting. I line up my metal from the top where I can see, and I can see the edges if I'm not quite lined up, and then I tighten it nice and tight so that nothing's going to move. The disc cutter actually comes with a sheet of urethane so that you can put it underneath to protect your bench. Then I take my punch, so I'm cutting a 1-inch circle. So I take my punch and I just put a little bit of cutting lube around the top of the punch and I drop it in on the top. It's very important that you always put your the cutting part down, and you never put it in upside down, because if you hit this with your hammer, you're going to ruin it. So nice and gently pop it in the hole, and then I take a nice heavy hammer and a couple firm hammer, and then you pick it up and you've got your perfect disc. Unscrew the piece to take that part out. Now I'm going to show you a piece of metal done with our laser texture paper. So this piece of metal has already been lasered, and it's important that if you're going to cut discs out of your paper that you put the texture side facing down. So I'm going to put the metal in facing down. This is because of the way the blade, that cutting disc cuts. If you put the disc, or if you put the pattern facing up, it will leave a sharp edge around, but this way your sharp edge is going to be on the top. So it's nice and tight. Lift it up, move the cut, and now I have a textured disc. Now this makes a fantastic earring. All I would take is a hole punch a hole in it, use a file to clean up the sharp edge around the edge, and bang, you've got a pair of earrings. You could add it into a doming block and add a domed surface to it, but this disc cutter is by far the most important tool in my studio. When I'm getting ready for Christmas craft shows, I punch more discs, and I have the ability to punch 14 different holes without having to find a different tool. So it's just a fantastic tool. This disc cutter also comes with a bag of centering punches. Now the centering punches actually have a sharp cone, and they're so that you can line up and have a piece of metal in the middle. So I'll just use this end and I'll show you. I'm going to put I'm just going to use a 1-inch or the 1/8 inch hole. So I'm going to punch a little hole there. Okay, so now before we tighten it down, I use the centering punch and I find the little hole, and when it's nice and centered, I tighten the disc cutter down, and then I take the centering punch out, and now my disc is perfectly centered in the center. So now I can take the disc, the 3/4 cut die, and I punch it out, and now I've got a disc with a hole perfectly centered. And I don't know if you've ever tried to cut a hole in the center of a disc without one of these. It's a very, very difficult process. Last Christmas, I spent about an hour and a half trying to cut a perfect washer, and that was as close as I could get because I didn't have this new tool yet. And that's completely doable with these centering punches. That's the whole purpose for them. So it's just an awesome, awesome tool. So again, I break off any extra material just to get a good clearance for into the disc cutter because it meets in the center. I'm going to cut one more 3/4 hole so the texture pattern goes downwards, and then I try to line it up on the inside so that I don't waste any metal. I tighten it, and again, put your punch Disc cutter down, there we go, and a couple hits. And you've got your perfectly cut disc. And there's so many design possibilities with discs, and just having the ability to cut them the same size. If you don't have a rolling mill to make your paper, we can make them for you, and we can also make discs if you don't have the disc cutter. But I highly recommend picking up a disc cutter. We do have these on our website at metaldesignz.com, and we can ship them within Canada or to the US.